just a few more people trickling in, and I think they will because they still need their passes. They might have to go back downstairs for them, but don't worry, there might be a little bit of disruption. But otherwise, a very warm welcome to this seminar on Green Careers Uncovered. A very interesting topic. I'm so pleased you've come because it's changing constantly, and as we'll discover this morning, going through a number of interesting aspects of this whole area. I hope you'll find it very, very interesting. I've also got a website at the end, which everything that I cover is actually also on that website, all the links and the sites that I actually show you. So you don't really have to write very much at all. And it's going to be a very sort of natural pace. I'm not going to race through too much. But I hope what it'll do, it'll raise awareness in areas perhaps where, because I think we all are little experts in this area to a certain degree, and we certainly have an interest. But I hope also it'll raise awareness maybe for areas that might be of interest to you and your students, and other areas of your work, and perhaps your personal life as well, as it's increasingly an overlap. Just a little bit about myself very briefly. I'm Hilary Nickell. I've been in careers about 30 years now. I was just chatting down at the RAF chat down there because I used to be in the Marines years ago, but that's another story. But the last part of my job was with young people in recruiting, and that drew me into becoming a careers advisor eventually. And I've loved it, absolutely loved it. And I still do. I'm self-employed now actually for the last 12 years and running these two national websites. This one, Career Companion Online, is the one that you're going to have free access to at the end of this session, and certainly for the next week or two anyway, where you can go on and view and see all the resources. About 3,000 websites in there. We have a team of careers advisors and teachers that monitor resources nationally. And then local and regionally is Resource Companion, which is something your school or college or a career service can have, and you can upload and manage all your content to staff and to students. I have information if you wish, but I think just going on the sites might be helpful. That's the only plug of the day, but otherwise I'm very, very honoured and privileged to be here, and I hope this is going to be of interest to you, as I said earlier. With this topic, I think one of the things firstly to mention is it is constantly or always topical. Wave Hub, this is just only just before Christmas, this new big massive investment that was released from the government, and there was a real touch and go in the southwest. They were very worried because it was going to create a lot of work and opportunities, whether they're going to win the contract at all. But they have, and they're now investing huge amounts into developing this whole area of wave energy, because they feel it is going to be a massive support to reducing the amount of carbon waste. And this is just the key point I want to mention. When you come across news items or websites that appear, if you can, maybe just make a note, add to favourites. It's just one of those good practice things. It may be something that might come up in a classroom as well, and you can have some of the latest information there. So, always topical. I've also come across some exceptionally good websites, and so I will no doubt mention ones that you're familiar with. I hope indeed I do. But this one caught my eye particularly, Think Energy. And it's a website which actually covers a vast range of information and careers about a whole sector, green, renewable and sustainable. And that one, as I say, you're in for a treat, because it seems to, if you had to go to one which actually covers a very broad range and got some very useful content, including staff resources, then staff resources, I don't mean that, classroom resources. Thank you, Carl. It's always good having Carl on hand. Something like this. And so I hope very much that might be one that you'll find useful. Thank you. Another site, well, before we get onto the sites, what is it all about, this Green Careers Uncovered? And in fact, the theme of the title really is just about saying to you, if you haven't had a chance really to look at this before, where do I start? Do we actually start with technology? Because there's so many things being mentioned now about the use of technology and improving things. Is it all about energy supplies? Is it about the environment? And there's a lot of mention, isn't there, about the use of wind farms. In fact, as things come more and more to the fore, so there's more controversy, it seems, as well. There's all to and fro arguments. Is it about agriculture? We start thinking about the environment and green issues. Is it about science? And I think if you're involved with science in a teaching capacity or in motivating young people who have a keen interest in careers in science, I think is a very fascinating area to be involved with if they, as more and more young people are becoming more green, environmental and energy conscious. And medicine, why have I got medicine up there? I think only just to say that almost everything these days is having an influence on how we manage technology, how we manage in terms of medicine, all the massive amount of equipment they use, and increasingly how expensive that is. I mean, we're very, very budget conscious at the moment, aren't we? And so that's an area which is having to think about very carefully about the equipment that it might use as well. And things like hospitals, massive places to actually heat and support in terms of energy. So very little of our lives are not actually untouched. And of course, as we implied earlier, or said earlier, that there's controversy, there certainly is politics at the heart of it. So already, I don't know about you've got young people in mind, but if you were to start and encourage and talk about this whole area, I think it is just potentially incredibly exciting. It's almost saying, well, what are your real interests? What are you passionate about? And I know that's sometimes hard to draw out of young people and students, but if you can, if it's just one thing, well, what are you interested in? What campaigns or what? Because I've got 3 sons, and all of them, it's nothing to do with me. I think it's largely my wife Alison, who's very green in gardening issues as well, and we've got one of these cones. Has anyone got a green cone in their garden at all? These one's amazing, actually. A green cone that sits in the garden, there's about 3 feet underneath. You dig out. A green cone on top is a metal inside, and the heat that is generated just coming through into that cone is enough to decompose bones. And we've been filling it for 2 years now, and it's still very, very, very low. It's amazing. All our bone waste goes in there. We may touch on some of these other areas a little bit later. But in the politics side, some of those are local issues. That was a campaign by our local authority that encouraged us to get these cones, and also green bins and so on. So we do hear about these things all the time. But also, massive problems, aren't there? When we think about not just worldwide, we in this country are doing some phenomenal thing. I didn't really want to quote loads of statistics at you because we get a lot of that all the time. But I think you know that we're constantly being compared with other countries. In some things we seem to be doing remarkably well, and we're certainly very, very keen to legislate appropriately where we can. In other areas, and there's other parts of the world which are doing very little. It seems very unbalanced, but I think that's to be expected, isn't it? In a world that is, and always has been, a bit unbalanced. But I think, if you don't mind me saying, I think it's largely where you're from in terms of, I happen to be a half-cup full person. And I know that sometimes that isn't always the reality. But I do believe if someone's passionate about politics, they can make a huge difference in wherever they may be working one day, in the policy that they might be supporting, whether it's at local, regional, national level. And so I think it's a very worthy and valuable part to play in that. It's everything. I think those images before are really just saying this, it's everything, not all the issues. And STEM, is anyone here involved with STEM in terms of their school or college where they're working? Do you mind me asking? Oh, thank you. Do you mind me asking, is it sort of very, very topical now in terms of environmental and green kinds of careers?
Yeah, it's sort of tying in, like I say, it's the bigger agenda. But we run a particular sort of programme which ties in all of those 4 elements. And sometimes we'll have, last year we did a very much a green topic about recycling and sort of things, but it right end to end. So it really is, yeah.
Well, thank you. That's so encouraging to hear that, because we often just think of STEM is just literally the science, the technology, engineering, and mathematics, the subjects, and not think about the wider issues when clearly people like you are doing that. But I'm very grateful to Carl, because we had this slide up earlier just running through, and Carl was mentioning how, because I asked him about his business here as a technician, conference technician, conference engineer, and how that might be affecting him, just as a matter of interest. And he's saying that, don't mind me speaking slightly on behalf of Carl, is that everything they do now, the equipment that they have and everything, all new equipment that comes in, has to pass certain types of efficiency, and there's a particular ROS, is it? RIOS, a sort of standard now, which is very, very important in making sure that certain equipment uses particular types. In this case, we've got examples. I didn't realise this would be so useful, but actually this is probably slightly older circuitry using lead, and now they're trying to say you've got to use lead and silver, because obviously lead has a more detrimental effect on the environment. But there are concerns about even silver. Will we be able to get enough silver to do? And also silver eventually decomposes. It's not as if any of these substances are good forever. So it's almost constantly, and scientists that are going into and researching all these kinds of topics will be at the forefront, hopefully, of future developments, of trying to improve everything the way we do, and the way we manufacture, and the use at the end of the day of source materials, natural materials, and others. So I think it's already, I hope you're sensing that there's challenges ahead, certainly, but also quite a lot of excitement as well. Maybe helpful just to get some general definitions, because it can be a little bit confusing. I ought to have said this at the beginning. I was a bit nervous about putting these up, because I'm not actually a green expert. I must make this very clear. I'm a careers advisor who's passionate about web-based information. I enjoy enthusing about careers and websites generally. I'm not an expert. And there's probably people in this room who are much more expert than myself. I hope what I do, at least through this, is raise some of the issues and enthuse and encourage on a number of the potential careers that are out there. But what is green? It can cover a variety of things. Green politics, we've mentioned, haven't we? Green party politics, specifically, if you want to go that far. Sustainability, as I say, they're totally different. Remember the good life? Some of us will here. Aspects of all of our daily lives and of all our actions, just in case you can't see that at the back, are part of sustainable, renewable energy, e.g. recycling, composting. If people compost here, just a show of hands roughly how many people compost. Oh, that is so encouraging. Well done. Keep it up, tell a friend, phone a friend. You've got to. And what a difference that makes. I tell you what, it is surprising how much, with that bone cone thing I mentioned, that rhymes, doesn't it? With renewable stuff and with the green waste that we take to dumps and things like that. Our bin, we have one bag in our bin each week now. And I'm just saying that just has happened. We haven't gone out, we just picked up things that are going and the opportunities are there. And just imagine if that was able to happen on a national scale much more, that we actually got rid of waste, much less waste, into the dumps, the big sort of main dumps there. Here's a couple more regarding to jobs, which might be more interest. I'll let you read if you don't mind this one. Scan waste for recycling products. There's all sorts of interesting things as technology improves. So, household tip operatives, if that's what I think some areas call them that, they would actually have an interesting, challenging job just trying to make sure that certain things are not put in the wrong places. And I think touching on this now, we're starting to move gently into the careers area and the jobs area. I think it's important to appreciate that this is forever changing. I think it's very, very important that we try and keep an eye open to see, and we'll see in a moment just some of the jobs that are actually out there, the kind of job titles. Because careers are constantly changing and evolving, and particularly in this whole sector. And I think that can make something very interesting and a useful topic for perhaps some of your students to research as well. Just in case at the back we can't see the bottom here, many jobs now involve elements of renewable energy which are not always seen as being renewable. Energy industry, everything from town planning to building to procurement, etc. It's everywhere. You'll be pleased to know there's not going to be much more writing. So some companies will actually be solely energy-based organisations, and others will have individuals who are responsible for particular parts as full-time, hopefully, employees. I say hopefully because a lot of these are part-time as well. But so what kind of green jobs are there? It's actually interesting when you start delving under the surface, because I was a little bit nervous when I was asked to do this, and as I say, I'm not a green expert, but when you start picking out and researching a few key websites, and it is amazing. Some of it's still a bit mind-boggling, what's there, but I picked out, I think I've got 3 sites here. I've got Green Jobs Online, there's Business Green Jobs, and Green Careers Guide there. That's actually American, so you've got to be a little bit cautious when you go to that one. And remember, all of these sites are on the source I'm going to show you later. It's American, but it has got, down the list here, all sorts of different kinds of thermal power, clean energies, green engineering. So it's worth maybe just going along and seeing what some of these are. You can also use this job search here and search areas and just see the kinds of jobs that come up. Here we've got renewables, wind energy jobs. Some of them are more noticeable than others. That one, business green, you can just do job search. A little bit like Google for green careers, really. And you can browse by sectors. So maybe you know you want to go in the green-related area, but you're not sure exactly what type. There's consultancy-type jobs, graduate jobs there specifically, water jobs. We haven't mentioned much on the wave energy yet about water. Ecology. So some people might have a very passionate interest, might go on to degree level in some of these subjects. Charity jobs in the green sector. Really? Just a thought, isn't it? And I just like the idea that these things can just open up for a discussion. And young people are very, very resourceful, as we know. And I think if they're guided to look at some of these things and debate and talk about them, it could be very interesting. And you can just see from there, carbon trading. There are other sites that are better for information, and we'll come on to some of those. But this gives you an idea, just looking at a few of the sorts of things, if you want to just discover the kinds of work that people do in green-related jobs. And this is a very enterprising, I say site, it's actually a whole series of sites. I think there's 4 or 5 altogether. Green jobs, renewable jobs. I think there's one with wave energy and other types, not just wave. Solar jobs is another one. And it's literally dedicated search engines to those particular areas, but it's all managed by one larger organisation. But where you will find that quite helpful is literally on the types of job listings here: energy efficiency jobs, environmental jobs, and so on. Hydro, we haven't mentioned hydro yet either. So I'm just conscious I need to keep an eye on the time. Because it's a very tight schedule. Just have about 12, 13 minutes left, sorry. And then there's some statistics, some facts which are beginning to appear which are quite helpful. Low carbon, specifically energy technology, 70,000 in employment just for offshore alone by 2020. So those are the kinds of things. Tidal stream barrages. Now, I don't know what this is. Some scientists here might be able to explain that one. Landfill gas, you mentioned landfill earlier. Microhydro, what on earth is that? Heat pumps, biomass, and so on. Fuel cells. I mean, some of us can get quite excited about fuel cell technologies and what's going on there, what's our vehicles and how they're changing and evolving. I heard the other day that they can do it now. In fact, there's areas in America where they already are where you can just sit in your car and it will take you to work. You don't actually drive at all. And they're just trying to make sure it's safe. It's already done 100,000 miles in built-up areas. And so I'm not sure that's the way you'd want to drive one day. Or maybe you would be. But I think some of these areas are quite interesting and for some exciting as to the way they could develop. But there are some issues as well about the fuel cells and the batteries. How environmentally friendly are those? On the face of it, they're very environmentally friendly. The Prius, for example, and the amount of mileage you can do on a Prius, 60 to 70 miles, depending on the gradient, depending on the speed you're going as well. But I know that they had a lot of criticism early on the type of, once the car was finished, the battery life was over, actually trying to make sure that was, if not renewed, that it was actually carefully decomposed, if you like, and that was a real struggle. And they now set up big areas in Toyota specifically to improve on the efficiency of waste from cars and batteries particularly. So I think, as I say, there's always challenges, there's always difficult things out there. But look at the mix here. This is the way things are changing. And I don't know, you can always be a bit sceptical, I think, about statistics, but they at least throw some light about interesting things. There may be ambitious targets have been set for renewables, but look down there, we've got going from 6 to 31 by 2020. It's only 8 years away. Dropping coal, dropping gas, dropping nuclear, dropping all of them. Oh, a rise in other sources, and I don't know what those are, sorry. And oil stay much the same. Interesting to know what in the future some of these things have to hold. Yeah, that was the one I mentioned, the American site, but actually has some UK information as well. It's just, as I say, a little health warning. Holistic. How come holistic medicine's in there? Anyway, someone else could explain that. additional careers down there. Green entrepreneurship, that's the one that caught my eye as well. Because I thought there's many people who actually got a real interest in this, and they would like to get involved, they would like to, maybe passionate already from a young age, and to get themselves involved. So even if just ideas, some of these sites are going to be good. And I have this passion, I mean, I don't know, I'm being very fortunate, I guess. Age 14, I saw a Royal Marines brochure, and I thought, this is what I'd love to do, and that was it. Little did I know that actually it was going to be internet careers and everything else I was going to really be passionate about later, but we don't know that, do we, when we start out? But it's never too early to explore careers, subject interests. I like that picture, it's like deep in thought here. What am I going to do with my life? But I would like to give a promotion. Can I ask if a number of people here are on the SegNet briefing? They get the mailing every, thank you, 5, 6, 7. Fantastic, so there's double, triple that number that don't. If you just go into segnet.co.uk, Anthony Barnes, actually I know very well, as a good friend, he actually is the coordinator of all that goes into the SegNet developments and SegNet website. And they did this teaching about green careers fact sheet, and it was only just out in the autumn. So it's still very, very new, and I got some of my information and help about this. So if you're at key stages, in this case 3, and at key stage 4, there's some post-16 as well. There's topics and ideas and information to help you in the classroom to actually talk about and raise these issues. So they were October 11 we are. So very, very good. So just register. It's not a cost at all. Just register on the SegNet website. Get on their mailing list, and weekly or fortnightly these briefings. Some of the briefings are probably more monthly, but there's weekly news bulletins as well to keep you in touch with careers educational issues. Definitely recommend it. I mean, when I read this, I thought, oh wow, this is fantastic. This is really, really helping. So it's nice to know there's people in the profession out there who can help us on all sorts of things. And I would suggest if you've got issues like, here we are talking about green today, but maybe there's other career areas that you think, there's nothing on this. There's very, very little information. I would definitely get in touch with myself if you like, because I can always network people and produce things. But Anthony at SegNet would be very, very interested, I'm sure, to hear back to. That's a plug for the day. I know we're going to be running out of time soon. So I do want to just put up some key resources, web-based information, and then show you where it all is, so that you can go away thinking, this is not over. This is just the beginning. So I'm hoping to encourage you. But there are some excellent examples out there of websites. Some of them, I mean, specifically, you have to look at some of them for the detail. This one, Green Futures, not a lot of hard facts, but plenty of colour on topics facing the industry. So if you've got people particularly interested in events and things that are going on at the moment, what is out there? What's the big news? What's happening? Yes, you can subscribe and pay to go to the magazine. There's a lot of these sites, but actually, just on their main pages, they often have very, very useful information, which is obviously totally free. This is the News Europe site, so if you wanted to extend and look further, you've got the offshore marine renewable Scotland Island here, but also you've got some wider issues in Europe covered by this site as well. And what did I say about that? Bulging job section, that's right, comprehensive link section for great occupation and company information. So if actually someone's job searching, where are the companies? What are the companies that are employing people to actually get into green careers? Right, not very exciting site. What did I say about it? Gives a good insight to the range of employment opportunities. There we are. So that's the Renewable Energy Association. So that's one of the official bodies. News and events. Energy Now. That's quite a topical, like an online magazine. So it's really worth having a little look at. And as with all these things, they all got their roadshows and conferences. I know they're coming to Wembley, but they're going somewhere. And if you've got people who are very, very interested in this sort of thing, I think you can get overwhelmed by it, but I think you can also get enthused. And so what I said there, claims to be the farmers, landowners, but it's actually much wider, that's right. This is what we do at Career Companion. We research websites and try and look for the goodies. That's what it is. Directive categories that include wind farm, wind turbine, hydroelectric, biogas, plus so much more. So it's like every website. You have to go and delve and search a little bit deeper. Solar panels. There's a bit worrying about this because hasn't the legislation just changed? We could all get that big subsidy. That's such a shame. I know people individually who set up businesses to do that, and they were doing marvellously up until just a few months back, and their whole thing's collapsing. It's very, very sad. I think they just didn't realise once you give an opportunity like that to people, they will take it and they will run with it. And there was a lot of good, I think. But anyway, so we'll see. Hopefully there'll be other things. Worth looking at the case studies. Biomass, welcome to the website of Biomass Energy Centre. I think, yeah, if you're more interested in agriculture, particular, the environment, these areas are particularly very, very useful. That site is actually very good. Oh, I just thought you might like this fact. We forget the scientists behind all of these environmental issues and things are doing great work, fantastic things. Oh yeah, I just thought, you will have access to this website in a minute, but I just thought the area we haven't touched on at all, which young people I know would be interested in, is what can I do in a gap year? What can I do with time out or voluntary work? And so we've got areas here that you can go and view and search those. And all of the information that I'm giving you as well will come up in a minute. And one for schools, particularly if you've got a school that's passionate about doing green careers, then we'll encourage you to go there, and you can make projects in your school, and that's very, very good. Run by the co-op there. I'm having to whisk through, I knew this would happen. Don't forget the sector skills councils, because they are a fantastic source for careers information, but many of them actually cover this whole area as well. That is your link to the site where you can get all these websites, and I might leave it up for 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks possibly. ICG Wembley, just repeat that username and password into Career Companion, and that's the page you want to go to. There's an area there. Oh, it says under development. It is all done now. Green, renewable, sustainable careers. There's a whole section for you. You can follow 3 clicks and you'll have a list of websites. All of those plus many more websites to check out that information. And for research purposes, you can add to Notepad and so on. But do enjoy using that. ICG Wembley, uppercase, repeat login. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much indeed. We've run out of time, but if there's any last minute questions, as I say, I'm not an expert, but I can certainly encourage and pass on any particular things that may be useful. All right. Otherwise, I hope you have a splendid day, and I hope this has launched you off with enthusiasm to your next event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.